spicy now.
Great pass, now up to P9.
Tight field today, look for opportunity.
You can train, you can tune, you can tweak every setup, but nothing prepares you for the chaos of a full grid and zero patience. Good luck out there. And just like that, the pressure turns into an overtake.
Position lost, now in P21.
Clear on the left, too wide. Right
Al,
side,
what was that
clear,
about?
go left.
What a move.
Infinite ahead.
Al, hit me.
Great pass, now up to P20.
Al, we may need a replay for that. Did you see that switchback? Al, name, someone's going on the overtake of the day list.
Great pass, now up to P19.
There's an incident ahead. You got a slow car on the left. Car stop on the right. Car stop on the right. Go left.
I don't think that went to plan. Did you see that?
Great pass,
Al, that looked Al, things are getting spicy. Oh, that was tight, Al, who just pulled that move and who's now rethinking.
great pass, now up to P9.
Explain that one to me. That's an overtake with attitude. Al, confirm who made the move and who just got schooled.
Great pass, now up to P8.
Bold, risky, and somehow it worked. Al, who was that on the inside line?
Great pass, now up to P12.
Big send into turn one. Al, give me the names. Who's brave and who's breaking late out of...
Great pass, now up to P13.
Did you see that? Now that was a proper dive-bomb. Al, who's responsible and is it legal in their country?
Great pass, now up to P7.
Al, something's definitely happening here. That was textbook side-by-side racing. Al, tell me who's got nerves of steel and who's now in therapy.
Great pass, now up to P14.
Back in the day, F1 cars had manual gearboxes and clutch pedals. Heel and toe at 300 kilometers per hour, that was Tuesday for Senna. Alright Al, serious question before we continue. If robots eventually take over motorsport, do humans still get to blame tire pressures and bad setups?
Filling up now should get us to the end.
Fun fact, many endurance drivers train their neck muscles specifically to survive long races. Meanwhile, I injure mine, sleeping incorrectly. Professional drivers are constantly adjusting brake pressure mid-corner. It's like dancing with a 500 horsepower bear. That driver is carrying serious corner speed right now. Either confidence is high or fear has temporarily disconnected progress.
End of lap 1. Carlos is running P7. Podium, P1 Matthias, P2 Dimitri, P3 Matija.
You held that position for ages.
Position lost, now in P8.
Al, did that actually just happen? Sweet move through the chicane. Al, who's the hero and who's the highlight reel victim?
Great pass, now up to P7.
Al, that looked messy.
Great pass, now up to P6. Sector 2, Carlos has reduced the gap to P6, it is now 0.0 seconds. P8 has reduced the gap to Carlos, it is now 0.2 seconds.
Made it through Sector 1 without drama, don't get cocky.
Sector 1 was smooth.
GT3 racing is beautiful because every car has a different personality. The Porsche dances, the Ferrari screams, and the AMG sounds permanently angry. In F1, the drag reduction system, DRS, was introduced in 2011. Some love it, some hate it, but it sure makes turn 1 spicy. The Toyota... Oh, what just happened? That was interesting. That was surgical. Al, tell me who just climbed the ranks and who's feeling spicy now.
Great pass, now up to P5.
At the 2016 Bahrain GP, Kimi Räikkönen asked for his steering wheel while driving into the pit box. Cool as ice. Steering wheel! Hey, give me steering wheel! End of the lap and not a single track limit warning. Who are we? Al, check for identity theft.
End of lap 2. Carlos is running P5. Podium, P1 Matthias, P2 Eider, P3 Dimitri.
Al, I admire your confidence. Human drivers lose self-belief after one bad corner and spend 3 laps emotionally recovering. The difference between bravery and stupidity in motorsport is usually measured in milliseconds. Fun fact, many GT3 cars are based on road cars, which means somebody looked at a normal vehicle and thought, yes, but what if it terrified people professionally?
Sector 2, the gap to P4 has increased. Carlos is now 1.1 seconds behind. Carlos has increased the gap to P6, it is now 1.5 seconds.
Sector 2 complete. If consistency was speed, we'd be champions. Al, back me up on this.
Sector 2 complete.
You ever notice the guy who brake checks in warm-up is always the first to bin it? It's a law of the sim racing universe, like gravity, but dumber. Professional racers know exactly when to risk everything and when to back out. That's why they stay professionals. The Porsche 919 Evo broke the Nürburgring Nordschleife lap record in 2018. No traffic, no restrictions, just pure fury. Fast, dramatic, and only slightly terrifying.
End of lap 3. Carlos is running P5. Podium, P1 Matthias, P2 Dimitri, P3 Eider.
At Le Mans, the sun rises at Terre Rouge. It's beautiful, also blinding, and more than one race leader has missed their breaking point right there.
Sector 2, Carlos has reduced the gap to P4, it is now 0.9 seconds. Carlos has increased the gap to P6, it is now 3.6 seconds.
First sector done. If you're planning to impress anyone, now would be a good time to start.
Sector 1 was smooth.
Fun fact, the Porsche 911 still carries the engine hanging out the back like physics is just a friendly suggestion. The driver ahead is defending like that position comes with free rent and lifetime fuel discounts. In IMSA, driver changes can happen in less than 25 seconds, including seat swap, belts, and a radio check. That's choreography on caffeine. Motorsport is the only hobby where destroying expensive equipment still counts as a learning experience. That line through the corner was beautiful. Somewhere, a driving coach just shed a proud tear. Fun fact, Race engineers spend years learning data analysis, only to hear drivers say, "Yeah, mate, car feels weird." Cross the line, still facing forward, I'll take it. Al, tell me someone else did worse.
End of lap 4. Carlos is running P5. Podium, P1 Matthias, P2 Dimitri, P3 Iter.
Top-level drivers are incredibly patient during overtakes. Amateur drivers see half a gap and immediately activate chaos mode.
Sector 2, the gap to P4 has increased. Carlos is now 1.1 seconds behind. P6 has reduced the gap to Carlos, it is now 2.8 seconds.
Every endurance race eventually reaches the point where drivers stop fighting rivals and start fighting exhaustion. Al, if you had access to every racing replay on Earth, how disappointed would you be in humanity? That felt almost professional. Al, hit me with the split. Are we flying or faking it?
Sector 2 complete.
Fun fact, GT3 cars can lose massive amounts of performance from tiny aerodynamic damage. One bad hit, and suddenly the car handles like a shopping trolley. At Monaco, the tunnel transition goes from daylight to dark and back again. It's like launching into hyperspace, if hyperspace had Armco barriers. A professional racing driver can feel tiny grip changes through the seat. Most of us just feel confusion. That lap had commitment, bravery, and at least one questionable braking point.
End of lap 5. Carlos is running P5. Podium, P1 Matthias, P2 Dimitri, P3 Iter.
GT3 drivers are incredible. They can drive side by side at 250 kilometers an hour, then completely fail parking at the supermarket.
Sector 2, Carlos is holding the gap to P4 at 1.1 seconds. Carlos has increased the gap to P6, it is now 3.5 seconds.
That sector felt clean, which usually means we missed something.
No drama in Sector 1.
Professional drivers spend years perfecting consistency. One fast lap means nothing if the next 5 are chaos. That overtake was smoother than most people's attempts at flirting. That was not a mistake. That was a full cinematic event. Racing drivers spend thousands improving their simulators just to ignore braking markers anyway. You know what's amazing about GT3 racing? Even professional drivers still enter corners thinking, hopefully this works. Al, if you ever become self-aware, promise me you'll never review my telemetry. Some drivers race with patience and precision. Others drive like unpaid stunt performers.
The leader just did us 21.861. You got a slow car on the right.
The greatest racers understand weight transfer perfectly. They know exactly when the car is loaded, balanced, or moments away from embarrassing them.
21.7.
That lap looked fast, dramatic, and mildly illegal in at least 2 corners.
End of lap 6. Carlos is running P5. Podium, P1 Matthias, P2 Dimitri, P3 Iter.
That car behind is closer than shopping trolleys in a supermarket car park.
Sector 2, the gap to P4 has increased. Carlos is now 2.5 seconds behind. P6 has reduced the gap to Carlos, it is now 2.4 seconds.
Fun fact, endurance drivers sometimes memorize traffic patterns better than city bus routes. Professional racers are masters at saving tires without looking slow. It's basically wizardry with steering inputs. That driver is using every centimeter of the track, and occasionally a few centimeters that don't legally belong to the track. 2 sectors in, and the car's still facing forward. Progress. Tell me it wasn't for nothing.
Sector 2 complete.
Fernando Alonso once finished a race in second with only 5 gears working. Most people panic when they lose reverse. The 24 hours of Daytona starts with sunrise on the banking and ends in darkness. It's not just a race, it's a time warp with traffic. That braking zone looked extremely ambitious and briefly historical. The best racers are incredibly adaptable. Dry track, wet track, traffic, pressure, they just keep delivering laps. Fun fact, in endurance racing, avoiding trouble is often faster than pure aggression. Survival is speed. Professional drivers always leave a tiny margin for mistakes. Unless it's qualifying, then the margin disappears completely. One more lap in the books and the stress levels continue climbing beautifully.
End of lap 7. Carlos is running P5. Podium, P1 Matthias, P2 Dimitri, P3 Iter. Sector 2, Carlos has reduced the gap to P6, it is now 0.0 seconds. Carlos has increased the gap to P7, it is now 9.4 seconds.
That was a clean move from the attacker.
Position lost, now in P6.
We're through Sector 1 and so far no panic. Suspicious.
No drama in Sector 1.
The difference between a pro driver and everyone else is simple. Pros make impossible things look normal. I once saw a guy race an entire endurance stint with his wheel disconnected. Didn't crash once. The car parked. But hey, no incidents. Al, if humans ever race robots professionally, the first excuse will absolutely be, yeah, but the AI had better traction out of turn 3. One missed apex in racing feels exactly like sending an email to the wrong person. That driver attacked the curb so aggressively, the suspension started questioning its future. Endurance racing is basically organized chaos mixed with fuel calculations and emotional instability. You know the race is getting serious when nobody is talking in Discord anymore. Cross the line, still facing forward, I'll take it. Al, tell me someone else did worse.
End of lap 8. Carlos is running P6. Podium, P1 Matthias, P2 Dimitri, P3 Iter.
Alright, Al, serious question before we continue. If robots eventually take over motorsport, do humans still get to blame tire pressures and bad setups?
Sector 2, the gap to P5 has increased. Carlos is now 1.5 seconds behind. P13 has reduced the gap to Carlos, it is now 4.7 seconds.
If you're watching this and not driving, congrats, you're already having a better race than half the grid will after lap 1. Sector 2 done. Al, was that quick or just less tragic than usual?
Sector 2 complete.
You know why Porsche Cup racing exists, Al? Because Porsche engineers looked at drivers and said, you know what this sport needs? Less excuses and more panic. Somewhere out there right now, a driver is telling his team the spin was part of the strategy. Al, you'd make the perfect race engineer. Instant calculations, no emotions, no panic. Human engineers start sweating the moment fuel numbers look suspicious. Some drivers treat curbs with respect. Others attack them like unresolved childhood trauma. One more lap done, and the rear tires are reconsidering their existence.
End of lap 9. Carlos is running P6. Podium, P1 Matthias, P2 Dimitri, P3 Iter.
Somewhere out there, a driver is absolutely convinced the setup is the problem. It is almost never the setup.
Sector 2, Carlos is holding the gap to P5 at 1.5 seconds. Carlos has increased the gap to P7, it is now 10.5 seconds.
Sector 1 in the bag and no smoke. We'll call that a win.
Sector 1 was smooth.
The Ferrari 499P in WEC has hybrid boost zones custom tuned by track. Push at the wrong point and you're just wasting volts and hopes. Professional racers know exactly when to risk everything and when to back out. That's why they stay professional. Fun fact, some drivers can recognize tire wear just from vibration changes through the steering. Al, I once asked a driver what the secret to consistency was. He answered, fear. Honestly, fair enough. Some drivers saved tires, others dragged the tires and salted their family. Motorsport fans don't need meditation. We just need engine starts and qualifying laps. You can almost smell the brake temperatures from here and probably the driver's stress too. One more lap done and the car is still pretending everything is under control.
End of lap 10. Carlos is running P6. Podium, P1 Matthias, P2 Dimitri, P3 Iter.
In IMSA, driver changes can happen in less than 25 seconds, including seat swap, belts, and a radio check. That's choreography on caffeine.
Sector 2, the gap to P5 has increased, Carlos is now 2.3 seconds behind. P7 has reduced the gap to Carlos, it is now 10.3 seconds.
You know what's terrifying, Al? Drivers willingly pay money to experience stress for 3 straight hours. That curb has launched more race cars into orbit than some actual space programs. Cross the line for Sector 2. Now the real panic begins. Al, what's the verdict? ¿Quieres que...
Sector 2 complete.
Did you know the 2021 Azerbaijan GP had no standing retirements until lap 31, and then chaos exploded in 2 laps? Classic F1 patience. Boom, gone. The Toyota GR010 hybrid in WEC has more computing power than the first space shuttle, and sometimes still runs wide at Eau Rouge. F1 pit crews can swap 4 tires in under 2 seconds. You blink, they've already changed them and wiped the visor. Had enough curb usage to qualify as off-road driving.
End of lap 11. Carlos is running P6. Podium, P1 Matthias, P2 Dimitri, P3 Iter.
You have about 2 laps of fuel left.
Fun fact, many endurance drivers train their neck muscles specifically to survive long races. Meanwhile, I injure mine, sleeping incorrectly. Professional drivers are constantly adjusting brake pressure mid-corner. It's like dancing with a 500 horsepower bear. That driver is carrying serious corner speed right now. Either confidence is high, or fear has temporarily disconnected.
Sector 2, the gap to P5 has increased, Carlos is now 3.1 seconds behind. P7 has reduced the gap to Carlos, it is now 10.1 seconds.
Made it through Sector 1 without drama? Don't get cocky.
Sector 1 was smooth.
Professional drivers don't just react to slides, they expect them before they happen. They say racing is about consistency, but I say it's about surviving people who think every lap is a qualifying session. Looking at you, turn 3 hero. You ever wonder what happens if you never lift in turn 1? Me neither. But someone out there is about to find out. Place your bets, folks.
The leader just did a 20.772.
Fun fact, the Porsche 911 still carries the engine hanging out the back like physics is just a friendly suggestion. The driver ahead is defending like that position comes with free rent and lifetime fuel discounts. Another lap completed. The race pace is good, the emotional stability less impressive.
End of lap 12. Carlos is running P6. Podium, P1 Matthias, P2 Dimitri, P3 Iter.
You have about 1 lap of fuel left.
A professional racing driver can feel tiny grip changes through the seat. Most of us just feel confusion.
Sector 2, the gap to P5 has increased, Carlos is now 3.7 seconds behind. Carlos has increased the gap to P7, it is now 10.8 seconds.
Al, be honest. How many drivers here are actually running the fuel they think they're running? Statistically speaking, not enough. Sector dose complete. Time to find out if this lap's going viral or vanishing. Al?
Sector 2 complete.
GT3 racing is beautiful because every car has a different personality. The Porsche dances, the Ferrari screams, and the AMG sounds permanently angry. Somewhere in pit lane, an engineer just opened the tire data and quietly lost faith in humanity. Fun fact, GT3 racing became popular partly because fans loved seeing totally different cars fighting together, also because loud engines make everyone happy.
Car right. Clear. Car stop on the right.
Time to park it and pretend we'll all drive better next week. Al, give us the names of glory.
Carlos finished the race in P6. The podium is P1 Matthias, P2 Dimitri, and P3 Aaron.